eMovis Ireland is a leading provider of mobility-based solutions. They make the complicated easy because they believe in the freedom of going places. Now, over the course of this podcast series, we've heard from many of the experts in the transport sector, but today we're going to hear from you. We'll start with an easy enough one. How would you rate Ireland's transport system out of 10?
I'd rate it about 7.
Okay. What changes come to mind that you'd like to see in Ireland's transport system?
The Luas seems to be a fantastic addition to this end of town, taking people up and down from the other side. Cabra, the north side, is able to make it up here in 15, 20 minutes or so, I believe. So I think it's pretty helpful to this end of town.
Okay, is there anything in your own commuting scenario, in your daily commute, that you'd like to see improved?
Well, I'm out in Ratoath, so my daughter gets a bus to college all the way from here, all the way over to UCD, and I think that's a maybe a little bit more of that crossing the city, a bit more buses from the likes of those Dunshaughlin, Ratoath, Ashbourne, that buses that come into town and go out the other side, so they're not getting off, walking all the way through town and getting on another mode of transport that linked, areas from north side to south side. And
maybe 4.
Just 4?
Yes.
And how long have you lived here?
And I'm nice. Well, yeah, in spite of 26 years I've been here, 26 years. Yeah.
You're originally from France,
Yes.
from Lille. How does our transport system compare to France?
At the moment in France it's not so great because of strikes, because of we have strikes concerning the railway system, they are not always happy because of different reasons, violence on the railways. But we have a very strong TGV, which is a fast train, and in each town we have a tram, which works quite well. But we pay taxes also for that. The thing is, we see the results here. I'm working most of the time in Dublin, trying to avoid cyclists, and there's no good transport for if you live in the city centre. It's becoming worse in the city centre. I'm walking to work. 20 minutes it takes me because the bus takes 40 minutes in the city centre.
Okay, but does the bus take you where you need to go if you wanted to take the bus?
Yes, because I'm lucky to be on the line of the bus. Yeah, the Luas I need to take 2 Luas to take to where I need to go. Yeah.
I give it about a 6 or 7. The bus is very good, I think. The bus is very, very good, and the Luas and Dart are kind of just okay. Very limited routes, though, I would say.
Okay, what's your own daily commute like?
I get the bus from Farnham into town. It's about half hour in the mornings, 40 minutes maybe. Yeah, it's handy enough, The bus goes right outside my door, right beside Trinity, so it's easy enough.
So you live in Cork.
I live
You're up in Dublin for a few days.
for a few days, yes.
So let's talk about the transport system in both Cork and Dublin.
Yes,
In general, what do you think of it?
I think it's very good. I couldn't complain at all. Very good in every way. Suits us, my age group, very well.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask you. Why
Yes.
does it suit you?
Because the buses are very frequent. That's it. No complaints at all about it. I can go where I like, and I find them very good. Very good in general. Drivers are lovely, very friendly.
So how long have you lived in Dublin, and how do you rate the transport system? I think it's good.
I've been in Dublin 6 years now, and the transport system, I hate it in Dublin. It's terrible. I find it
Hate
terrible.
it?
Yeah.
Why so?
Well, I'm always in early in the morning into work, and you're just like sardined on the Luas, and it's just really uncomfortable, horrible. I don't like it. And then if you have a pram in particular, you have to wait till like the next Luas, so you have to wait till if there's room, and then there rarely isn't room, and then I have to walk and I have to factor that in. It's not good enough. I don't think really.
And you have to do it every day?
Well, yeah, I would have to, yeah.
So what changes would you like to see made?
More frequent Luas or just like more carriages on the Luas. I don't know. The train as well is bad too, because I go home to Cork quite a bit, and I'm often standing because Irish Rail seem to sell tickets even when like the train is fully booked. So that's really annoying as well. And yeah, the Dart isn't great. I don't have anything really nice to say about the transport really.
I would rate it about 6.
Okay.
Not too bad.
So that's okay?
That's okay, yeah.
But there's improvement?
There is improvement. Certainly out our way there's been improvement in the trains, and there's been improvement in the bus links with the new contracts that are going on at the moment with these other companies. The bus service has improved. 33A has been indefinite, only going as far as Swords and the airport, so you still have to hop on another mode of transport to get into town. The train service probably overcrowded at busy times, but certainly there's been somewhat of an improvement compared to maybe 2-3 years ago even.
Okay, even in that space of time.
Even in that space of time, particularly in the last year with the 33A coming on, has improved. What bugs me at times is the lack of linkage between the buses and the trains. You know, why didn't they put a stop inside Lusk station so that the bus could come in, maybe wait a few minutes for a train and pick us up? The station itself is not in Lusk town, or it's not in Rush. It's halfway between the two. But there is parking at the station, but I would think with all the new houses and development going on, you're going to run out of parking space at the station, and the cycling facilities to the station are actually quite poor. So there's the need for cycle lanes from Rush and Lusk to the train stations for people to be able to not take their cars down to the train station. But overall improvements, but as somebody once said, some done a lot more to do.
I'm going to go with like a 3, I'd say. I don't use it because I don't want to, because it's terrible, I think, yeah.
So how do you get around?
Drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your commute like?
At the moment it's pretty good. It's only about 15 minutes drive to work, so it's not too bad.
Okay. So if you're only giving it a 3 out of 10, there's a lot of room for improvement there. What are the improvements that need to be made?
I suppose timings. Like I'll get the Lewis, because you can kind of stand at a Lewis stop and know that it's 5 minutes away in comparison to a bus. I think you're waiting for it, and yes, it might say it's 5 minutes away, but in reality it could be full, and then there's 3 gone by before you actually get a bus. So it wouldn't really entice me to get it. So I think they probably need more, and a lot more awareness around if they're actually coming on time. Are they full? Can you get it? Can I get to work on time? That kind of thing.
So if that was improved, would that be enough to get you out of your car?
Yes, more often. Not necessarily for work, because I do need my car for work. So, but yeah, no, I would definitely. Like for weekends and stuff, obviously you don't want to drive into town and pay €16 in car park fees just to come in and do a bit of shopping. So yeah, you'd happily get the bus instead if you knew it was going to be there and you could get in and out on time.
Yeah, so I'm actually a pharmacist. I locum around all throughout Dublin, and I find it quite useful, especially the bus. It's just travelling around 6 o'clock can be like a real nightmare because you obviously got rush hour. But yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with it actually, but I've come from Tip, so the roads and the public transport aren't that good there.
What are things like down in Thurles at the moment?
Like you really need to have your own car, I think, to get to like anywhere kind of local. Do you know, the buses there is non-existent, and like I know we have the trains, but like it only really goes to Dublin and Cork. Do you know, it only services certain towns.
Yeah,
but it doesn't service like smaller towns like it used to. You know, like years ago, Clonmel and all that kind of as well. So yeah, no, it's pretty poor in Ireland.
So what improvements to the transport sector would have an effect on your life?
Yeah. I think if the Lewis was a bit, you know, served more areas in Dublin, it would be handy for me because I live near the Lewis line, the Green Line. And then in Thurles, what do you think?
I just think, yeah, kind of like I think they need to really think about like buses, because you were living in England for a while, and in all the towns there they seem to have like lots of bus stops. So if we are going kind of economically friendly, then maybe having like that in a town might be more friendly. So there wouldn't be as many cars and stuff like. Or else even if they upgraded the bus lane or the cycle lanes and stuff like that around towns.
Would you use a bike?
Yeah, I would if it was like safe, but like at the minute you can't really cycle because you're going between paths and roads, and that's not safe for pedestrians or like cars people driving as well. So yeah, I would. I know the weather now permission, but
well, we can't improve that.
All over the place.
And you lived in England, how do we compare to there in terms of transport?
Dublin is alright because it's a big city, but when I compare it against Thurles, I think in a way Thurles is lucky because the train, you know, from Houston, it gets fed from that. But there is like certain towns, they have no train, they have no bus, and what do? They're dependent upon driving or, you know, someone taking them to the train station. I found in England there was just a lot more buses. And as Catherine said, like in Oxford, for example, there's lots of little towns around in Oxford, but they always get fed in through Oxford City via bus route. So yeah, I think there's probably room for improvement, but slowly but surely we're getting there, at least in Dublin anyway.
Do you consider the environment when you're travelling?
Yeah, we do. 4 of us travel in the one car 2 or 3 days a week in order to minimise the amount of, we used to go at different times, we don't go at different times now. We try to make our times, collectively so that we're all travelling together when we do take the car.
And do you use an electric car, or would you consider using one in the future?
I don't use an electric car. We are going to purchase a car very shortly for one of the family, and we're looking, this coming week, we're looking closely at electric and hybrid and the alternatives to petrol or diesel.
So if you only score 4 out of 10 for our transport system, what improvements would you like to see?
Like what kind of transport I'd like to see improve? Well, for cyclists, for instance, cyclist pass. Yeah, I went to Amsterdam in the beginning of December. I mean, the cyclists dictate the transport there. You have to avoid them everywhere you go. But at least it's great because it's a small place. Here, Dublin is small. You should improve the cyclist. Have more cyclist paths, and for walking as well. The pavement is so short. You nearly run over by a car if you go past another pedestrian. So I'd say less cars. If I was a minister of the transport minister, I'd see less cars in the streets. Maybe I'll get a lot of enemies here, but there's one person per car, and it's jammed. More and more even during the afternoon at 3 or 4 p.m. It's all stuck. You have a lot of traffic jams. So less cars maybe adopt cars-free city centre.
If you could make improvements, what would they be?
Maybe make some bus routes more regular. Like, I am actually really lucky. Like, the bus routes I have are really regular, every 15 minutes or so. But I do now have a lot of friends who would find it really hard. Bus coming every hour and a half maybe, and it's just a bit of a nuisance, And yeah, I just think I do really like the transport now. I think the bus is good. But the Lewis and Dart seem quite contrived and not very well thought out, I would say.
Okay. Do you consider the environment when you're commuting? Is that important to you?
Yeah, I would cycle as much as I can. I get the bus if I'm tired in a rush or something. But I would, but I also like to take solace in the fact that there's a lot of people getting a bus, so it's helping the environment and stuff like that. But if there's a tram system coming out towards me, I would definitely take that using the electric thing. I would definitely use that over a bus if the option was there for me.
So you're not driving yet?
No, I'm learning at the moment, but I'd use that for more long-term journeys and stuff like that.
And how important is the environment when we talk about our transport system?
Well, it's improved. In my lifetime, it's improved ginormously. There was a time, if you look down from, of course there was coal as well, if you look down from Mount Merrion onto Sandymount, there was a cloud sitting over Sandymount. And I think that, I think the environment is very important. So the more that, something like the Lewis is used, the better.
Would you like to see improvements in the environmental side of transport, and is that important to you?
Yeah, that's why I try to walk to work. I work in Churchtown, so the Lewis isn't, it's like I can walk if I factor that in, if I get up early enough. So I would do that instead of getting the Lewis right now. But I don't know, in terms of environment, I'd like to see it to be better, but if they could do that, I don't know how they would.
Would you ever consider driving?
Yeah, no, not with the traffic, because my sister drives and she's stuck in traffic. She works out in Navan and she's stuck in traffic for 2 hours every morning, so no, I wouldn't want to drive on that. I wouldn't like to sit in traffic for 2 hours. So, and especially, I know I work in Churchtown, so the Lewis would be easier, or walking there than driving, because it's quite close to where I live. I live in Rathmines, so it's quite close to that.
If you ever plan to drive, do you have any thoughts on electric cars?
I would definitely consider electric cars. Yeah, I would. But then again, with the charging of batteries and stuff, that might be, I'm not sure where there'd be a charger and stuff like that, or if I'd have to buy a charger. But if I was to invest in a car, I would go down the electric car route, I would say, yeah.
I do. I tend to, although I haven't today, I tend to try and leave my car at home. First of all, parking is too costly in town, that's for starters. the train does work for us maybe Saturday, or even try to look at maybe going from Lusk to Malahide. It's 2 buses. You have to get one into Swords and hop on another one. But it works, it works. It's a bit of inconvenient at times. The one thing, and another thing that probably would upset me a lot is the lack of accuracy in the real-time information. We have, you go on your phone, you look at it, and the bus due in 5 minutes, and suddenly no bus arrives, and the bus has disappeared, and then something else happens. The bus might come on or whatever. It seems to be inconsistent. I think it's based on the schedule, and maybe not all the buses are connected up to the live network. So buses tend to go missing.
I definitely think about it a lot more now, so I would prefer to use my car less if I could. So yeah, I would take public transport and would love to see a lot more electrical vehicles, I suppose, if we have the infrastructure for it. I think lots of us would like electric cars, but I don't think we're really built for it just yet.
It seems to be a very hot topic, and I suppose it's crucial really, because obviously I have a little baby as well, and I want him to have a nice future, and it is very important that whatever process they make or the government decides to go with, they need to really think that into the bracket as well. And obviously people owning cars, every one household, then that's not really economically friendly. That's
to
my
be fair,
opinion,
I sat the theory test recently, and I do think it's quite good, because in their book, the RSA, right, the Road Safety Authority, they are stressing how you can drive more environmentally friendly, and I actually thought that was good, because they're making the future driver aware of actually what the car is going to create to the environment. So I thought that was actually quite good.
And is that something you're more aware of now and consider more? And maybe if you were to buy a car, would that factor into your thinking?
Yeah, 100%. I was even asking some of my colleagues, I don't know much about cars, but I was asking them how much the electric cars are, and the benefits of that. And I think most people are asking themselves that questions now, because you have the likes of Greta Thunberg, and she's really promoting the environment and climate change, and I do think people are asking themselves those questions. At least I am, and I think most of my family are.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about tolling?
Punishing people who come into the city to make a living. We already spend it on petrol, we already spend it on costs of commuting, so if you're talking about a toll for people to stop bringing their cars in, it's punishing enough paying the petrol and parking, and yet it's some people's only way of getting in at reasonable times to suit their work times. Otherwise, it's just too inconvenient to work in the city. I think it would drive people out of the city.
And do you know what tolling is used for? The money it generates?
No, not necessarily. I know that the toll roads we have been very successful and paid for themselves very quickly. So after that, no, I don't.
So would you be for or against a congestion charge to ease the amount of people who are driving into the city, to encourage more people to use public transport?
I think against it, to be honest. I think if it added any more charge for me coming in, I'd say it would make working in the city quite expensive. And secondly, I'm running a business in the city, and it's very difficult to get, our client numbers are down, because transport also takes people out of the city to, Dundrum shopping centre, etc. So I think anything that stops people coming in and moving easily and freely around, or shopping, carrying bags home or whatever, I just think it's punishing if they can't bring their cars in.
Tolling, not very much.
Okay, do you know what it's...
Yeah.
And do you know what the money is used for?
It's to pay back people who've built the roads. No? Unsure.
There's a few different answers to that, yeah. Is it something you agree with?
Yeah, I think once the kind of debt has been paid off, I don't think you should be constantly paying the government just for using a road. I would assume that's once it's there for people to use it. Infrastructure is for people to take advantage of. I don't know if we should be paying every time we go through a tolling booth.
What about if you had to pay to drive your car into Dublin city centre? If there was a congestion charge, do you think that's a good thing? And would it encourage you not to drive?
It would encourage me not to drive, and I do actually think that's a good thing. Yeah, I would actually be. When I talk about the polling thing, I think it's a bit stupid we have to pay for used roads. But I do agree with maybe increased taxes for using cars because environmental reasons, etc. I think it would sway people from driving. It would definitely sway me.
I know I obviously pay for it. I have a toll tag. Makes my life very easy, to be fair. So I obviously like that. I have a toll that makes my life simpler and I don't need to be digging around for change. Do I necessarily know where the money that I pay for my toll is going? I'm not so sure. I don't know.
And would you like to know more as to where it's going and what's been done with it?
I suppose so, yeah, no, I wouldn't mind, considering we all pay motor tax, so that's obviously going somewhere, and then what's toll fees going on, so yeah, it would be good to know. Just for, I suppose, public transparency.
What would your view be on a congestion charge, say coming into Dublin, that would maybe cause you to leave your car at home and get the bus, or do you think it would?
It would probably entice me more to, but I would want to know that the buses were better. So I think you can't do one without the other. I think they're going to go hand in hand. Better transport, give a congestion charge, that's fine. Don't think you can do a congestion charge if your buses suck, so.
Do you think cars should be charged coming into the city to encourage more people to use public transport?
I wouldn't think so, no. I definitely would avoid taking the bus getting in to town. I just think it's so overly packed, can't do it in the mornings or anything like that, so I'd rather take my car.
And how long do you sit in your car for?
Oh yeah, God, I could leave the house an hour early and I'd still be late. So, a long time.
Okay, so is congestion an issue for you?
It can be. I find, especially because I'm coming from Tunnery, so that Rock Road is ridiculous. So, yeah, it's never a good thing, but on the M50 as well, it can be mental, but it's just so much cozier being in your car than on a bus.
Okay, what about the environment? Do you think it's important that we get out of our cars and onto more sustainable public transport?
Yes, for the environment wise, I would think, yeah, no, I would get the bus in that reason, but I just think nowadays nothing's ever going to get me out of my car.
When it comes to driving, do you drive an electric car, or would you consider one in the future?
I would certainly, well, I just got a new car, a second-hand car last year, so I'm not going to change in the short term. Possibly with the next car for my wife, we're looking at a hybrid, so we're kind of moving towards that direction. Maybe when there's more stations or when the technology improves as regards charging rates and all that, maybe there will be kind of an opportunity maybe in a few years' time to look at a full electric car. But hybrid, I think, is a step in between there. I have a diesel car at the moment. You know, people are now criticising diesel cars, so what can I say on that, you know?
What are your thoughts on road tolling?
On road tolling, I don't mind road tolling provided there is the benefit to it. There's no benefit on the M50, right? It's just a car park. So why are we paying for the M50? But on the roads that are going down the country, you know, the few tolls you have to pay, I don't have a problem paying those tolls because you do move from A to B. And I used to travel a lot by car. I remember going through all the small towns and how difficult it was. And places like Cork or Waterford or wherever have come a lot nearer to us. So what you save, what you pay in the toll, it's certainly saving fuel. So in that way, it's been good. But the difficulty is the M50. And I probably would advocate that maybe the M50 should be tolled also from gate to gate, or from access point to exit point, not necessarily a divide between north and south, where maybe a lot of the factories are in Tala. People on the north side have to do an extra tax in effect to go to work because they have to go over the toll bridge. So I really don't think that's fair. So and likewise, people come to the airport from the south would say, likewise, you know, we fly to the airport, we've got the extra cost there as well. So.
What would you think about a congestion charge in Dublin City to ease congestion?
I think it possibly would be a good idea. I don't know if we're ready for a congestion charge. I think you need to probably have more park and ride facilities to be able to gain access, because even living out where I am, and I have said the bus service has improved, to get into town, maybe to do shopping with, going into Arnos and buying something big, or down the road here and buying something big. How do you get it home? You know, there's those issues. So congestion charge, I would think is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it will come, but maybe not in my lifetime.